All right, we're going to start a minute early. I just can't take it anymore. Make sure we're live here. Brian, we good to go? Thank you. Well, as much as we'd like to hold Jane hostage a couple hours longer, we're going to try to keep this down to an hour or so or less. Everyone's been warned to be appropriately concise, although we'll see how that goes. I hope everybody enjoyed the lunch. Thanks to all that went into that. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the pictures flashing on the TV screen. There were a lot of them on there. A lot of them I hadn't seen before. And I got to say, Jane has not changed a bit. Am I right? Okay, turning to the order of proceedings as we squeeze a little more time out of our festivities. We're going to make some presentations. We have a couple of small gifts. And to start things off, I'm going to call up Ryan Curley, the first selectman here of the town of Portland, and he's got something to present. Come on up, Ryan. And if everyone, sorry, I know politicians hate to get their applause talked over, but if everyone would use the pulpit and the microphone here, that'd probably be best for the YouTubers, although Brian's giving me a this, so if you really don't feel like it, but I need you to use a microphone wherever you stand.
Can everyone hear me? No. Okay. How about now? All right, cool. Well, it's an honor to be here with you this afternoon. Thank you all for having me. I'm here on behalf of the Board of Selectmen and the town of Portland to congratulate Jane Hawken on a successful 17 years in Portland. And I know all of you are so grateful for all that Jane has done here, and so is the town. And because of that, I have this proclamation that I would like to read. And this is a proclamation for Reverend Jane Hawken. Whereas, for the past 17 years, Reverend Jane Hawken has been the pastor of the First Congregational Church of Portland. And whereas, during these years, Reverend Hawken has led the congregation with distinction. Through her commitment to the Portland clergy gatherings and activities, she has had significant impact on her community. And whereas Reverend Hawken has been a great supporter of the church's nursery school as well as townwide Vacation Bible School, both programs welcome children throughout Portland, providing quality childhood programming. And whereas Pastor Jane's vision for the churches of Portland to work together to welcome a refugee family to America, and with her guidance, it led to the development of the Portland Refugee Resettlement Group in the fall of 2021. And whereas the Portland community has benefited from Pastor Jane's collaborative spirit and deep commitment to helping others, providing pastoral care and support through all of life's milestones. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman of the town of Portland, Connecticut, hereby deem it an honor and pleasure to extend our sincere thanks for Reverend Jane Hawken's dedicated service to our community. We extend our very best wishes as well as a happy and healthy retirement, and do hereby proclaim January 22nd, 2023 as Reverend Jane Hawken's Day in the town of Portland. In witness whereof, I do hereby set my hand and cause the seal of Portland to be affixed this 22nd day of January in the year 2023, signed by Ryan J. Curley, First Selectman, and on behalf of the Portland Board of Selectmen, John H. Dillon, Michael S. Hernandez, Robert W. Hetrick Jr., Sean P. Manning, Michael A. Pelton, and Ralph R. Zampano.
It's all about the photography. We have time. Get Ryan back up. Come on up. All right. Ryan, thank you very much. It's a good reflection on the impact of Jane's ministry on the entire community, which we're so pleased to have been part of. It does seem ironic that basically on the way out of the city, you get the key to the city. But I am glad it's not Sadie Hawkins Day. That's all I can tell you. Next, I'd like to call up Karen Reddick, who's going to come up on behalf of the Board of Deacons. Karen asked to go first before we ran out of tissues and hankies. So come on up.
Actually, I went through the box that I brought with me, so I had to take some that Diane supplied. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, that's better. So I am one of the deacons, and one of the responsibilities that we have as deacons is to assist Jane with communion. Now, So the pandemic threw us off a little bit. Now, maybe not all of us. Some of us are a little rusty with some of the mechanics of assisting Jane with communion because we didn't really do it traditionally for about 2 years. So on January 1st, Carrie and I, 2 deacons, had volunteered to assist Jane with communion. Now, some of you who might have been here or watched on YouTube might have noticed a very brief interaction between Jane and myself up here before we started communion. Now, I was worship assistant that day as well, so I was up here in the pulpit, and we finished the hymn, and Jane walked over to the table, and then I followed. Now, what normally happens is the deacons actually proceed up from the back of the sanctuary carrying the elements, the bread and the juice. But I, on this particular morning, decided to have a seat. And while I was sitting there, I realized that something didn't feel quite right, and I felt like I was forgetting something very important. And I was wondering where Carrie was, quite frankly, because I looked across at the other chair and nobody was there. So as I'm sitting there with these little visions dancing in my head, Jane very calmly moves over and leans down. Actually, I think she had her back to everybody, but she leaned down and she said, "Are you going to help carry the elements forward?" And I said, "Yes, Jane, yes, I am." So as I snuck my way to the back and got to the back, and I said to Carrie, "I'm sorry." She said, "It's okay. One of these days, we're just going to all get it right." So we're working on it. February's looking good. February's looking good. But that is what I love about this church. There is a sense of humor, humility, grace, and compassion. And what I have learned over the years is in any organization, it starts at the top. So thank you, Jane, on behalf of all of the deacons who have served with you, past and present, for serving us in this community with humility and humor and kindness. We are very grateful. Thank you.
Karen, thank you for your moving words. As a former deacon, I can say that Jane's relationship with the board was always the best in terms of firm but gentle leadership and keeping us on the right path. On communion, I can say that the first time Jane did communion at our church was for her audition service, if you will. And as the outgoing chair of the board, I had to walk her through how to do that. And I left out a key part. And it wasn't just to test her, it was actually an accident. But as usual, she got through that with her typical aplomb. And Karen said that someday we'll get communion right, but what I always say is nobody else knows whether you're doing it right or not, so stop worrying about it, we'll get through it. One thing I wanted to mention is you'll see some statistics mentioned from time to time in the materials, or people rattle them off today. Jane baptized, by our count, 105 people at her time during our church here. And if you think about it in terms of if they were all kids and if they were all at least 10 pounds, that's more than half a ton of kids she walked up and down the aisle, which just gives you a sense of her commitment to our church and the strength that she showed, not just of character. But our next presenter is Ann Dimmick, who's going to come up regarding the Memorial Garden, which was dedicated in a service led by Jane on November 18th, 2018.
Hello. A significant part of Jane's legacy during her pastorate here in Portland was the church's creation of a beautiful memorial garden in the backfield. Truly a ministry honoring past, present, and future. Back in early fall of 2016, Jane and an interested members met to discuss their vision to create a quiet space for cremation and reflection. Jane had already been busy investigating possible locations on the church property. She also shared pictures of other memorial gardens. With Jane, as everyone knows, her homework is important to her and most welcome by us. Also, all of us were always welcome to voice our opinion. It's the congregational way. The backfield with its glorious views of sunsets was chosen. At the January 2017 council meeting, a formal committee was established, and we were off and running. During the next 2 years, Jane and the committee met monthly, sometimes weekly. A busy time, but an exciting time for sure. Jane's guidance, patience, and wisdom was always with us. We went on field trips, scouting out other gardens. We enlisted UConn's Community Research and Design Collaborative to help develop a plan. Taking bits and pieces from their sketches, the committee developed a rough design. The right side of the field was chosen. A monument to the far right, a circular middle for cremains, and a gazebo on the left. The gazebo allowed a covered space for services and as a reflective area. Engraved brick pavers would lead the way to the garden. 1.5 years later, it was voted on by the church to move forward. Thompson Landscaping helped finalize our rough design and constructed the garden. The memorial garden of the First Congregational Church of Portland was realized. Finally, the committee was to create a pamphlet, internet agreement, and the like. I will speak about the pamphlet. This is one of Jane's specialties, but finalizing the perfect document takes some time. A few of us stayed on to help with the project. We met weekly, I think for about a month, maybe a month and a half. Should it be a two-fold pamphlet or a single-fold? What pictures should we use, and where should they be placed? The wording was tweaked and retweaked a number of times. The end result, perfection. In the late fall of 2018, this beautiful sacred memorial garden was dedicated. 7 interments plus other memorial services have been performed in the garden. During COVID, a number of worship services were held in the gazebo and the adjacent field. And last summer, a celebratory concert was held in honor of our refugee family. In closing, I will quote Jane's message from our brochure. It is our profound privilege to offer this beautiful memorial garden as an extension of our ministry. The memorial garden was created to the glory of God as a sacred space, set aside for reflection, spiritual renewal, and as a final resting place for loved ones who have passed on. It is also a tribute to our past, our present, and our future, and to the people who have shared our lives and our faith. The Memorial Garden is an enduring testament to Jesus Christ, end quote. Thank you, Jane, for helping the First Congregational Church of Portland realize a vision of a memorial garden and sharing your ministry with us. We are grateful.
Thank you, Ann, and thanks to everybody who worked on the Memorial Garden and Jane for leading us through that effort. As you heard mentioned before today and seen different things, Jane celebrated a lot of anniversaries with her churches. The 275th while at Canterbury, the 150th at Higginham, the 175th at Wilton, the 150th at Middle Haddam, and the 300th here in Portland. I'm going to add up things again. That's over 1,000 years, which may explain the difference in your appearance in this picture from this picture. The other thing I want to mention is you may have noticed these faces in the choir loft, and if you don't know what those are, that's the First Cardboard Church of Portland, Connecticut. Those were who populated our pews during COVID when the church was locked down, and Jane preached to them on Easter Sunday 2021, and reports are that they were at least as attentive as we were in the prior services. I wasn't going to go that far, but in the very back row of that, you'll see a lady who looks a little older in terms of her dress, at least, from the rest of them. And that is Abigail Strong, whose portrait is on the back wall, along with her husband, Cyprian Strong. And he was the third pastor here. I got help in the back. The third pastor here of our church, and was for many years, way back when. But so that's who those people are. Don't worry about them anymore. Our next presenter is going to be Nancy Johnson, assisted, I believe, by Diane and after. Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Now, they gave us 5 minutes each, but I timed Karen, and I have an extra minutes to my presentation, so. I would like to begin by saying something about Jane's retirement. And I'm talking about this mint. Because this is just not a cute little favor to celebrate the day. It actually has symbolic meaning to it. So I'm going to share, and actually Tony kind of mentioned it this morning, that in the 10 years before Jane arrived, this church went through 3 interim pastors, 2 settled pastors who didn't settle for very long, unfortunately. There was conflict in the church, and the church was divided, and some members left, which was very sad. Jane knew that history. Look she came anyways, and she stayed for 17 years, so I guess we did something right. So Jane, you are this church's lifesaver. And and this is just a sweet little reminder of how your presence has blessed us for 17 years. So now let's go back to, I'm a historian too, so you'll hear a little history. January 29th, 2006. It was a Monday evening, and some of the women of the fellowship were in the fellowship hall getting ready for our 7th Chocolate Fest. And Jane had a meeting there that night, and so she popped in, as she always does at meetings, and she introduced herself, and she said to me actually that night that we gave her some gifts, which I couldn't remember until she popped in again last week when we were working on this Chocolate Fest. She had a lovely canvas bag, monogrammed, and she said, "Do you remember this?" And I said, "No." "Did we give it to you?" And she said, "Yes." And it was filled with all kinds of items, of course, including chocolate, because a few days later after she started, that was her first experience of our Chocolate Fest. And then the next day she had a preacher for a sermon for us. Do you remember what you called it? She remembers. They're right, and I have it. And I'm going to share. And I'm going to share just a few lines from the beginning of it. So she says, I suppose this first sermon is a good time as any to come clean, to confide, and to confess. So here goes. Recently, when I have been asked why I chose to come to the Portland church, my answers have included various statements about wanting to work full-time with this committed, faithful, friendly, generous, hope-filled, and hardworking group. 4 days and she already knew us. But to get off on the right foot, she said, it's time to admit the real reason I sought and accepted the position. And the real reason is captured in 2 words, and we all know what that is. Chocolate Fest. So in that sermon, she also mentioned that familiar Forrest Gump quote that we all know, life is like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. Well, on February 1st, 2006, we didn't know what we were going to get with this new pastor, but after 17 years, we truly knew what we got. We got a gift of ministry, and this is what we got. We were blessed with a pastor who is, and you know how she loves words, faith-filled, devoted, thoughtful, caring and nurturing, knowledgeable, witty, understanding, kind and compassionate, innovative and flexible, especially during COVID, reliable, humble and patient, a good listener, effective communicator, sincere comforter, committed teacher, sure you want to leave? Passionate preacher, wise leader, and a inspirational spiritual guide and friend who has was filled with God's love and has also shared that love with us for 17 years. Because as the choir sang, love does grow here, and it was Jane that really cultivated that love in us for 17 years. Did you know, Jane, that on May 12th, 2006, your sermon title was Love Grows Here? How about, do you recall March 8th, 2009, what you preached? Well, it was Have You No Shame? And on September 30th, 2018, Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my. We got a lot of interesting messages in 17 years. How do I know this? Well, for fun, just for fun, I sat and went through 17 years of bulletins. And this is a document, okay? It's not just Jane's, though. There was a lot of other people who preached. David was one. Thank you very much for all the time you filled in, and Tony, and some lay people here. It's 11 pages long, and I made it for your reading pleasure. But there's one thing you must not do. You cannot proof it. Because we know you're going to find something in here, and I was trying to be very careful. But if there's a misspelled word, or this is another one she always got me with, there's 2 spaces instead of 1 space between those words. So if you find something like that, it's not intentional, believe me. But you were wondering why I did that. Because you blessed us 17 years with so many wonderful messages that the Women's Fellowship wants to present you with 17 gifts. So you'll have fun opening those. So I'm going to invite my helpers, Diane and Faith. We all work together on this project. And they're going to come down, while they come down and present, we'll put all the gifts on the table up there. I'll tell you what we did was I went through and picked one good sermon from every year, and then you know us, we can't do one gift. So we chose one sermon from every year. We thought about it carefully and found the appropriate gift. Each gift has a red envelope, and on the front it says the month, day, and year. It says the name of the sermon, and inside there's a short personal message of how or why we picked that gift for you. But you have to share some of these gifts with Alice, okay, and your family. So Diane shows you that bag. I think people who were here on November 13th, 2022, know that it was Generosity Sunday, and it was The Leap of Faith was the sermon, and Jane did tell us that the letters FROG is an acronym for Fully Rely on God. And so you're getting your own bag, so you can remember us forever. And then there's all those other ones that you will have fun opening. So we want you to take your time and relax and enjoy opening all these gifts just as much, and be grateful, because we're so grateful you opened yourself and your heart to us for 17 years. And remember, this is not goodbye, it's just fare thee well.
Well, thank you, Women's Fellowship. I thought for a minute there we were going to do one of those let's make a deal thing where it's either the box where Diane Burgess is standing or behind the curtain, one of those. Although I did like the line about one good sermon a year. She always did more than that, but hey, any of you could do one good sermon a year. By the way, Jane ranks 6th among our pastors in this church in terms of longevity. She's number 1 in our hearts, but 6th in terms of longevity, and I tried to coax her into trying to become number 5 by staying a couple more months at lunch, but that didn't work. Apparently she's not that competitive, at least in that, maybe in proofreading things. And if she stuck around 28 years, she could be number 1. Come on, how about it? Yeah, okay. Our next presenter is Karen Foss, who's going to come up for the Missions Board, which was something especially near and dear to Jane's heart.
Okay, so that's a hard act to follow, Nancy. I mean, how do you follow that? When I was asked to speak about Jane on behalf of our Missions Board, my mind wandered, no wonder I can't see, in several directions. How do you put into words all the time spent together in fellowship, which speak to the heart of missions? I needed to come up with a plan. So, plan A, I thought of writing Jane a message in a card and reading from that. As one knows who has been on missions, I tend to send cards to everyone at least once or twice a year, and thought this would be a good fit for this occasion. However, in this case, there were too many words. Plan B, as this message was representing our board, I had the idea to ask each member to please send me their words to share so I can incorporate them into our story, who we are as missions. Plan B worked. This message unites each member's involvement in expressing their words, feelings, and reflections of Jane and what she has brought to all of us during our time together. One of our biggest projects during my years on missions was the opportunity for us to do God's work our hands. I remember the day when our board was going to present a mission moment and introduce this task to the congregation. The idea of the project was to be the church on a specific Sunday and venture out into the community to do different types of chores and let our neighbors know they are thought of and not alone. We wanted to do something original to grab everyone's attention, so as people were entering the sanctuary, they were given several types of garden tools, sewing baskets, homemade dresses, all kinds of kitchen utensils, and we even summoned the choir to be in on it. All these props were represented the projects we would be doing. Watching the reaction of people entering the narthex was comical. They were all willing to participate, just didn't exactly know what they were getting into. We told everyone, no worries, follow our lead. I was in the back of the church, quite nervous, standing there with all the other mission members when Jane walked up to me and said, Karen, look at all this. How's it going? Do you remember that? I responded to her, I don't know, Jane. I have this message pictured in my head, and I just hope it works. She looked at me and said, it'll be great. I trust you. Her word, trust, spoke to me that day as I walked down the aisle to begin the presentation. If Jane trusts me, this better be good. I don't know if that made me more nervous. However, her trust is a tool I have taken with me throughout my years on missions to achieve the best of what we do in serving those who are in need of support and service. Our meetings can be a bit unusual, just like this past Wednesday night, which I wasn't going to bring this up. Jane's looking at a certain pair, sorry if I say this, she's looking at a certain pair of boots, and Sally on missions wanted to know what size boot I wore. So instead of me sitting down and taking the boot off, she literally said, just lift up your leg. And so all the other mission members are holding me up so they can see the size of my boot, because they want the same boot, she wants the same boot as her two daughters have. So that's why it can be a bit unusual. It's true, right? A little secret, sorry. We never have a specific date and time to meet. It's always, what's the best time next month? After everyone gets out their phone and sifts through the days, we pick a time. No matter when we meet, the one thread between all our members is Jane. Wait a second, I forgot us about. Oh, no, I did it. Okay. Is Jane. Her passion, devotion, and support has led us to accomplish wonderful projects and meet remarkable people. We have developed a long-standing relationship with Street Fire Ministries, and when discussing the opportunity to sponsor a refugee family arose, it wasn't a matter of if we can do this, it was how can missions help to make this happen. At times, we wander off the set agenda when life has given someone a challenging road. We have shared tears together and also celebrated joys. Jane's compassion has brought our members closer, sharing thoughts, not only as mission members, also as teammates who support, help, and truly care about each other outside of our mission agenda. Our wandering has been a blessing, always learning and growing as a team and individually. Jane's experiences have guided us to venture out and explore new opportunities, to enhance those we have been doing, stretch our boundaries, explore new ways to reach the congregation, and think outside the box. Our gathering of fellowship extends beyond the walls of our meetings and pours over into the church family, our local community, and into national and worldwide boundaries. Our Dress a Girl project has brought some of our young Sunday school girls together, as well as Jane's granddaughter, Alice, to model handmade dresses for girls in the Ukraine. We have come to join with people outside of our immediate community to bring mission work to those in need. Working together does make a difference. None of these accomplishments would have been possible without the words used to describe Jane: trust, passion, devotion, support, compassion, experience, guidance, fellowship, faith. Thank you, Jane, for leading us in faith to bring our dreams of helping others to light and having the faith in all of us to do God's work. Your unwavering commitment to your faith will be missed and fondly remembered, and your devotion to the First Church community and family will be felt for years to come. On behalf of our missions board, Heather Foss, Beth Guillerito, Sally Irons, Carrie Click, Jan Poet, Kathy Pabolis, Sandy Lavoie, and myself, we wish you all the best in your retirement. May you enjoy this new stage in your life with words like family, joy, love, peace, laughter, relax, good health, happiness, adventure. Another chapter in your life begins, and your story continues.
Thank you, Karen. I think Karen is the most relieved of our presenters after her presentation. And I want to mention that other fact is that Jane welcomed 164 new members, not counting the confirmands, during her tenure here. And our attractiveness as a church depends not only on our minister, but on the things that we do in the community and beyond that carries out our Christian faith. So thank you all for all you do for that. Our next presenters are Jeanette and George. And are we going to sing first? Oh. Okay, I get to be unflappable at this point and just ask you that. You want to come on up and do that?
You certainly don't want me to come up and sing.
I do.
You really don't. I'd like to invite everybody to join in singing This Land Is Your Land. You will find the words on the back, and 2 verses, and then the first verse the third time. Come on. So when one retires, most people think about travel. And what are they going to do, and where are they going to go, and what are they going to be able to see? So we've put together for Jane a bag filled with things that will help with her travel plans. So for starters, Jane, you need a t-shirt. A National Parks t-shirt, as well as a lifetime senior pass to the national parks. Yes. This is my Vanna. And lots of books to assist with planning. Lots of national park books. And a book to read to Alice. I think that's it. Oh, there's one more thing. Yep. And a little treat to open as well. But travel is something that we hope you and David will be able to enjoy without having to rush back to preach on Sunday or without having to get back for a meeting. And we wish you all the best with your travels and this next part of your journey. We love you.
Well, thank you, Jeanette and George, and maybe as part of your national parks travels, you'll end up in Yellowstone where you'll visit the appropriately named Old Faithful. I mean David with the old part. You can be not so Old Faithful. And whatever you do, don't feed the bears. We just sang This Land Is Your Land. It's your land and my land and their land. And I'd like to call up Beth, who's going to speak on behalf of the resettlement group.
Hi. When I was asked to talk about the Refugee Resettlement Committee, I thought about how many different ways Jane has impacted all of us here and in the greater community. At church, she's challenged us with her sermons and educated us as to the Bible. She has supported the sick and grieving and shared in our joy at weddings and baptisms. She's visited the homebound and counseled us at difficult times in our lives. Her kindness has brought us closer as a church family. Jane, at various times when I've been on the missions board, would raise the issue of resettling a refugee family. And finally, in September of 2021, the time was right. She guided us in the formation of the Portland Refugee Resettlement Group. She provided support and encouragement throughout the process and has been a wonderful sounding board, helping when roadblocks occurred, and you know what the roadblocks were. With the seed of an idea planted by Jane, the Samimi family was welcomed to their new home in March of 2022. The family is now living in peace, well, as much peace as there can be with 4 children in one house. All 4 children, boys and girls alike, attend school and have aspirations of wonderful careers. This wouldn't have been possible had they remained in Afghanistan. Khatira is studying English, and when she chooses, she'll be able to work at any job she likes and help support her family. Ajmal has advanced in his career at the international charity Turquoise Mountain. They are all receiving good health care covered by their insurance, and they are in the process of applying for asylum here in the United States. They are making a life for themselves here. Thank you, Jane, for bringing this opportunity to us and for touching the lives of the Samimis in such a positive way. What an incredible impact you've had on these 6 individuals. And I'd like also to thank the community and the church congregation for the many ways you supported us and prayed for us throughout the process. And now Ajmal would like to say a few words. Ajmal Samimi.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you all here. I think it has been really wonderful and honored to be part of this today. Beth asked me to join, and kindly, I was really happy to come here and to see everyone. Especially Jen, thank you for all impactful things and the help and support you have done for our family and everyone who joined this resettlement committee. We have received wonderful support and help all the time through our travel times for the last 10, 11 months. We felt really different. We can see the difference. Our family, my children, they see different. They always have different questions still because they're entering a new chapter of our lives. And we really feel safe and happy having friends and communities here, people around us. That really gives us a lot of more energy to look around and see how our new chapter of life will look like. You came to our house, remember kindly, it was really helpful because all my kids, everyone comes around and they see our family, they visit us. We really see a difference because we were thinking that after leaving our country, we may have a lot of difficult time, but now I see that people are still around us and we can see, we talk and we have a new friend, new families around and a great community. Thank you so much for all the help, every one of you that you have done and your guidance and Beth together, everyone in this community. We are really grateful of that. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for coming and for sharing that with us. It's nice to see good works at work and the gift that is to us and to other people. This is not about me, but I do have one personal note. You know, when I was volunteered to MC this, I thought, what's the worst that can happen? I can fall flat on my face. Little did I know I was going to have a bout of vertigo last night, but I overcame it. So your prayers, unbeknownst to you, were answered. So well, it would have been fun to watch me go down, I suppose. I want to call up somebody who's never been afraid to put her best foot forward at the risk of falling flat on her face. Ann Labby, you want to come up here for Christianette?
Martini family, bread that this house may never know hunger. Oh, that was a wonderful life, but this is a even better wonderful life because we have Jane in our life. And Jane is our angel. So, over the years, we have given Jane the red carpet treatment. David, pay attention. Jane has lived a higher standard of living here at Portland Church, and we expect that to continue. Jane is an angel. When the pandemic took place, Jane was doing worship service from her porch. It was beautiful, and I commented on text, I said, I love your little wine thing that you use for, on Communion Sunday. And she goes, it's really a syrup holder. So from now on, this is only to be used as a syrup holder to make pancakes for our little Alice and your family. Now, Jane needs special hand soap. She can't use the cheap Sam's Club stuff. Her hands have to be soft, okay? And it's got to be lavender scent. She doesn't like the fruity scent, okay? You got that? No melon, right. And because Jane is an angel, this is most important. David, you paying attention? She does not use the single ply rough stuff. She needs Angel Soft, 2-ply. See, I told you she had a great life here. I don't know why she's leaving. And every year, you're covered for this year, but every year Jane's going to need to have a tie-dye t-shirt. So we will send her off with this one so she can remember our love and think of all our fun times wearing these t-shirts. So Jane and I pretty much started the same time. So as Jane would say, we've only heard her say this a few times. According to Google, there are many duos in the world. And Jane and I have been a duo. And here's a list of some, and you decide which best suits us. Of course, there's the dynamic duo, Laurel and Hardy, Oscar and Felix, Bert and Ernie, Batman and Robin, Laverne and Shirley, Fred and Barney, Lucy and Ethel. I sort of that one resonates with me. And Abbott and Costello. So I think we are all those grouped together because we are the dynamic duo of this church, and we appreciate you. And just to end with Jane's words, you have made me a better mom, my son up there, a better wife, a better sister, a better daughter, and a better person. And I can't thank you enough. I'm going to miss you truly. But you are coming with me. You're going to come to work at the library with me. I'm going to text you at all hours of the night. We wouldn't want you to get out of that habit, you know? So you are coming home with me so I can think of you and remember you forever. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Ann. For a minute there, I thought we were going to get Mr. Whipple with the Charmin, but I'd like to call up a few of our recent confirmands. Devin Oresco, Mary Clark, and Amelia Dietrichson are going to come up. While Jane was here, she confirmed 102 of our youth through her confirmation classes. 4 of them were mine. We have 3 here. I don't know who the others were. But I think we're going to hear from them if they have a minute.
All right. Okay, everyone can hear me. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Devin Oresco. Most of you recognize me from the many church services I have attended, although not as many recently, with me being at college and the COVID pandemic. Either that, or you know me from my parents. Either way, both boost my credibility just a tiny bit. Even though I could go on and talk about me and my story, I am actually here to thank and express my gratitude for someone else. Can you guess who that would be? Thinking back upon the many years of youth fellowship, children's sermons, church activities, and all of the valuable lessons I've learned upon the way, Pastor Jane has taught me more than can be put into words. From the wisdom and knowledge described in her sermons to just little actions of hers at worship and other church activities where she is helping or interacting with others, I can truly say she has taught me how to be a more selfless and caring man. Every church service I've ever been to, Jane has expressed so much selflessness through how welcoming she was, not only to me, but to everyone within the church family. I especially remember when my grandfather passed away. She assisted with the funeral at St. Mary's Church, which meant so much to me personally and also to my family. I am sure there are so many other examples of this for all members of our church family while Jane was our minister. One moment that sticks out to me is Jane greeting everyone around the church before the service began. She would also wish everyone a good day as they were departing at the end of the service. This always meant so much to me personally due to my introverted characteristics. I was not one to reach out or be social with other members of the congregation. Therefore, Jane reaching out to me and being so welcoming at each church service helped me become more comfortable within the church family. I'm sure I could speak for everyone here when I say that we appreciate all that you have done for our church. Thank you and best wishes on your retirement.
Hi, everyone. I've known Pastor Jane for a majority of my life. I was about 6 or 7 when she started here, and I'm 23 now, so it's been a long time. I'm very grateful to have had her as a role model as I've grown up. She's always been someone who I've admired. I'm also grateful that I was lucky enough to grow up in this church and with this community that Pastor Jane helped create. Jane, I would like to thank you for all of the guidance, support, and prayers for me and my family over the years. I will forever be thankful for the support you gave me, especially when it came to Silver Lake. First when I started going as a camper, and then when I got older and started working there. I still remember how excited you were for me when I got the job because you knew how much I wanted it. One of my favorite memories from confirmation was when we all got to go to Silver Lake for a weekend. Getting to share my favorite place with you and all my friends was something really special to me. Once again, thank you for all you've done for me throughout my life. There aren't really enough words to describe how much of an impact you've truly had on me. Enjoy your much-deserved retirement. We'll miss you.
Sorry, just pulling up my script. Takes a moment. Hello, everyone. As you may know, my name is Amelia Dietrichson, and I just went through the confirmation process last year, but I've been attending this church for the past 5 or 6. During this time, I have gotten to know Pastor Jane as the kind, warm person she is. Whether she is greeting us in the narthex, giving her weekly sermon, or at coffee hour after service in Fellowship Hall, Pastor Jane's words never failed to brighten my day and inspire me. At the beginning of every service, she says, "No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here." And I truly feel she means this, as at the First Congregational Church of Portland, I feel comfortable and accepted, both in the eyes of the ministry as well as the eyes of God. And I have Pastor Jane, as well as all of you, to thank for that. Reverend, we appreciate your years of dedication to this church and wish you a happy retirement. Your presence has been integral to all of us, and we will miss you.
Well, thank you, Devin, Mary, and Amelia. None of them had the courage to tell you, but they all hated going to the funeral home as part of confirmation. I had 4 tell me that anyway. Our final act is the choir, who needs no introduction. Not the cardboard congregation, but the choir itself. And so I'm going to invite up that part of the performative portion of our service. Yahoo indeed. You got to have props. Dear Jane, until we meet again. Happy trails, dear Jane. Keep smiling until then. We'll miss you, but we send you on your way. Best wishes and God bless you every day. Happy trails, dear Jane. Till we meet again. Your ministry has blessed your congregations, years of service for which we're truly grateful. Whatever's next will bring felicitations. We know that God will surely keep your plate full. Happy trails, dear Jane, until we meet again. Happy trails, dear Jane, keep smiling until then. We'll miss you, but we send you on your way. Best wishes and God bless you every day. Happy trails, dear Jane, till we meet again. Now we wish you adieu, but not goodbye, and send you with love to the next stage. We know we'll see you again by and by. It's not the end of the book, just a turn of the page. Happy trails, dear Jane, until we meet again. Happy trails, dear Jane, keep smiling until then. We'll miss you, but we'll send you on your way. Best wishes and God bless you every day. Happy trails, dear Jane, till we meet again. You've grown from your roots in the Midwest, brought comfort and love to the people. In our view, you're simply the best, and we wish you'd stay under our steeple. Happy trails, dear Jane, until we meet again. Happy trails, dear Jane, smiling until then. Wish you that we send you on your way. Best wishes, may God bless you every day. Happy trails, dear Jane, till we meet again. Dear Jane, until we meet again. Happy trails, dear Jane, smiling until then. Wish you best, we send you on your way. Bless you and we send you every day. Happy trails, dear Jane, till we meet again. Well, yippee-yi-yay. And thank you to our choir folks. You guys. Well, they say in showbiz you never want to go on after an animal act. Jane, you're up.
Well, I think you can see why this has been so enjoyable for 17 years to be the pastor here with this congregation and all the loving support, even from the cardboard people over there, but from everybody. And I want to thank you all, especially those who have spoken and those who have been such a great part of this wonderful day. And I think I just kind of, to sum up, and I was supposed to say 2 words, thank you, but I was just thinking of 3 words as I experienced this afternoon, just fun, family, and faith. And you've been a wonderful church family. We've had so much fun, and we've shared our faith, and thank you.
You may be seated. I always get the last word. Well, thanks for coming. That brings our presentations and the official portion of our celebrations for this day to a close. Jane, on behalf of the church, I want to thank you for all you've done for us in your ministry. I want to thank everybody who came today for bringing their best wishes to you as you ride off into retirement. I was looking at some of the materials that Nancy and Diane and others dug up, reflecting on your ministry. And back in '06, as part of your presentation to the church about your faith journey, you wrote, and maybe you spoke, and I missed your installation service because I was at a wedding in Chicago, but you talked about in college your view of an ideal Christian was the associate chaplain at your college, who you said was intelligent, humorous, warm, creative, incisive, fallible, and committed. And thank you for being all of those things to us. Maybe not so fallible, but that and so much more. Thanks for your service to our church and to all the churches that you served at over all these decades, all those congregations, all those people. After all, it's all the people that you've so lovingly and capably served over all that time. On behalf of everyone here, and I'm sure all of them, we love you. Can I get an amen? Amen. And to that, we're done. And wherever else you're going, be safe. I think we got it in before it started to rain. And everyone have a good day. Thanks for coming.